it's FYF Sports here. It's Lamont back with another breaking news video. Again, this situation with the NBA actually going down to Orlando, it's just kind of transitioned from some of the social issues that the players were concerned about. Now it's kind of transitioning into the rising concerns of COVID-19. Those issues have kind of spiked back up, not just in Orlando, but just across the United States, even here in Arizona as well. So again, I came across this video on ESPN. A couple hosts of the show were speaking on the matter, and they actually ended up revealing some very interesting news about the NBA's plan going into this Orlando situation. So I'm not going to do too much talking. I'm going to get straight to this video, and we'll talk about it a little after. Again, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Let us know what you think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to all the videos. We appreciate all the support, but we appreciate it even more when you guys interact directly with us and just let us know what you think about these situations. Let us know what's going on in your states or wherever you are located in the world. It's just we want to get all of those interesting perspectives from everyone, regardless of where you are located. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to get right to this video, and we're going to see what these ESPN hosts have to say about this situation.
Here's the deal. The NBA season is set to resume July 31st in Orlando, Florida. Unfortunate timing. COVID-19 cases continue to mount in the state of Florida at an alarming rate. Players have until this Wednesday, June 24th, to make a decision whether they will play or not. Jay Williams is here with us joining the conversation. Jay, always great to see you, my friend. We'll get to you in just a moment.
Thanks,
Stephen A., you're up first. Should the NBA reconsider resuming this season in Florida?
Unfortunately, my answer would be an emphatic yes. And I want to preface my comments by saying to Jay and Swagoo, let me put it to y'all this way. Start spreading the news. Y'all know that song. You understand what I'm saying? New York, New York. That's where it should be. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. That's the truth. And here's the reason why. Because no one can doubt the job that Andrew Cuomo has done as governor of the state of New York with this whole COVID-19 pandemic. Now, there's critics that have accused him of grandstanding, being on television entirely too much, even though I would submit to all of y'all, his segments with his brother, Chris Cuomo, on CNN have been nothing short of hilarious the too few times that I've caught him. But let's be very clear. New York was the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States of America. They are now in phase 2, starting today, where the city is reopening in terms of flattening the curve, lowering the curve, and getting their bearings under them and moving in a...
Hey, and based off what Stephen A. Smith is saying, that's why I say it's so different from state to state. In Orlando, it seems to be spiking for whatever reason. In New York, we see a large decline because the governor down there is taking more of an initiative to make sure that they're doing things to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So we can see on a state-to-state basis, there are some states that are handling it a bit differently. I think when it comes to the NBA situation, Orlando was chose because of its affiliation with Disney. Obviously, they have those basketball facilities down there that are used for a lot of tournaments that make it convenient. And then obviously you have the Disney resorts, which will make it easy and convenient to house a large number of NBA players in the close vicinity to those facilities. So Orlando was an ideal location. Stephen A. Smith is bringing up a good point about New York. New York would also be a great location, but we have to always remember that New York was the hotbed for COVID-19 when this outbreak first kind of took over the United States. So again, spikes are increasing in Orlando. They seem to be on a decline in New York. But again, that can change at any given time as we see. But we're going to go ahead and continue with this video.
Forward direction. New York is what it's all about right now because of that man's leadership. There's no way around it, okay? And so when you take that into consideration and you consider the size, I understand density is an issue and what have you, but the size of New York City, the amount of hotels it has available to it, the fact that people have been in the streets but engaging in social distancing, wearing their masks, and not feeling strapped and damn near imprisoned in the process. If you take that into consideration and you compare that to what the governor has done in Florida, where you might have opened up a bit prematurely, you might have been too lax and might not have been as vigilant as some would say you should have been in enforcing some of the safety protocols and measures that would keep your state safe. And now we've got 23 different states that have spiked, and the state of Florida is one of the states that is obviously not had it, they haven't had it too good as of late. I would say because of the leadership that you have here, the fact that it is New York, it's Gotham City, I think that would be very appealing to all parties concerned. I think it's something that should be strongly considered if Orlando doesn't work out.
Stephen A. Smith, there is no way that the NBA could pivot with less than a month. You're talking about a multi-billion-dollar organization. Think about how much money it would take to then drop all plans to do it in Orlando, a multi-two-place facility, a built-in bubble to a degree, to then say, hey, we want to just do it in New York.
And you guys, if you haven't been to Disney in Orlando, what Jason Williams just said is correct in and of itself. If you've been to Disney in Orlando, it is completely separate from the city itself. Each park is almost like its own small city, and it's completely separate from the city. So he is correct when he says that Disney is in and of itself a built-in bubble. And it's actually a great location, I feel, to continue the NBA because of Disney's design and how secluded it is from the actual city of Orlando. But let's go ahead and finish hearing out what Jason Williams has to say. Again, it's a very interesting take.
You have to find a location. You have to find the right facilities as relates to, hotels. There's no way that pivot could happen. Okay, where are you going to have everybody stay at? How are you going to keep everybody in an enclosed environment?
You see all these beautiful hotels
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. The thought sounds good. It sounds good, but is it realistic? There's no damn way it's realistic. You can't pivot that in a month. Now, I understand, like Reid Hoffman has said, he's the CEO of LinkedIn, that sometimes you have to jump off the cliff and assemble the plane on the way down. But this is too detailed of a plane to assemble after you jumped off the cliff on this one. Now, there are a lot of things that worry me about Orlando. Obviously, Disney allowing employees to go in and out and them not being as frequently as tested as players should be. But I'll tell you this right now. I've talked to a lot of players. I live here in Brooklyn. I don't see players leaving their other locations to come here to Brooklyn or to New York to play in a game. And if I'm a player, I'm leaning towards not playing. I'm sitting there watching, since Saturday, there's been 4,049 cases that have happened, regardless of whether you want to tell me testing has increased or, I don't care what the damn reasons are. I have to leave my family for 2.5, 3 months, and I'm supposed to be in a bubble, and now we're going to change locations in the last month? I'm leaning towards not doing this if I'm a player. And if, a lot of players are going to be put in this situation. A lot of players may play because they need the paycheck. But if you're a player in a good situation financially, I don't know if I want to just deem myself to assembling the plane on the way down, especially watching how all these case numbers are rising, regardless of whether you tell me it's, testing is going up or, people are just getting, more cases in general. I'm scared. You should be scared if you're a player. I've heard multiple players say that, Stephen A.
Molly, read that question for me again.
Sure. Should the NBA reconsider resuming the season in Florida specifically?
Hell no. Okay? Listen, I get it. I understand what you're saying, Jay, about the logistics and changing locations. And if that causes the season not to happen, that's unfortunate. Florida ain't going to do right. Florida ain't been doing right. Florida was trying to come out of the pandemic before we even announced what the problems with the pandemic was. And to put them players in Orlando in that position, in that situation, and I get it, the facility is great. The facility to be able to lock down mandatory, but let's not fool ourselves and say that these dudes not gonna go out. Let's not fool ourselves to say that they gonna be exposed to potentially getting COVID, getting coronavirus in Florida more than somewhere else, possibly where the numbers are lower. So I tend to.
And that's one thing I've been stressing. The main thing I've been stressing is whether the players play in Orlando or don't play, their exposure to COVID-19 is going to be the same. You know, when we speak about all of these cases, new cases happening of COVID-19, all of these new cases that we keep continually hearing about, these are mostly everyday people who are having common interactions in day-to-day lives. Most of these people, again, in many of these states, they're wearing masks. In these stores, when you go in gas stations, grocery stores, everybody's trying to practice social distancing. And we still see new cases of COVID-19 time and time again. So I feel as if whether the players play or whether the players don't play, their exposure to COVID-19 is going to be the same, potentially. It's just about what the NBA does with regards to keeping the players in that isolated bubble, helping the players maintain some form of sanity being stuck in that bubble for so long of a time period. And then what can they do for players who have families and they may want to spend time with their families? Are they just going to be completely isolated? Are they going to be restricted to video calls, things of that nature? You know, what type of restrictions are you getting placed on these players? For example, we see that Trevor Ariza has come out and announced he's not going. During this time of the year, he has a 1-month visitation with his son. He's not willing to give up that 1 month of visitation to play NBA basketball over the summer. Again, he's not wanting to sacrifice time with his family or his son to go play NBA basketball. And the Portland Trail Blazers are fine with that. Again, there are going to be players who will play and will not play for a number of different reasons. Again, the NBA has been very, very open about not punishing players for sitting out. They may lose some game salary, but again, if the players are willing to sacrifice that because they have other things on their agenda or they have other goals, then that's perfectly fine. The NBA has stressed time and time again that they're perfectly fine with that. But I definitely want to continue to hear him out to see what else he has to say about this situation.
To stretch with Stephen A about the moving of it. Now, I'm not sure if New York is the place either, because logistically, to me, that's hard. But if you can find some other state where there is an opportunity to be in one central location where the cases aren't exploding like they are in Florida, then that would be my alternative. And I get it. Timing, how long they've been playing in this. Obviously, it's at the Disney Wide World of Sports, which is a magnificent facility. I've watched a lot of AAU tournaments, national tournaments be played there. It's a great place. But it's Florida for me. The NBA shouldn't consider opening it up in Florida. They should consider somewhere else where they could get these players to that they can still be in a confined facility like they would be in Florida and play games where cases are not out of control.
Swag, it's not realistic just to pivot and go to another city like that. It's not. And even though the cases are rising in Florida, look, my thing, I'm leaning towards shutting it down, to be fair with you guys. I know we're talking about could it be open or not. I'm leaning towards shutting it down. But all I'm saying is you have to make sure if there's a bubble, players, you're not allowed to leave and go back and forth. Staff, you're not allowed to leave, go out back and forth. We'll pay you overtime. Stay here. You know, security around hotels. You have to make sure that things.
Hey, and Jason Williams actually just came up with that's actually a great idea. And that, again, in this situation, it's going to be about sacrifice for all parties involved. So with regards to the NBA, if they really care about players' safety, especially in an instance like this, then they will go that extra mile to play all of these workers who work these games extra overtime hours to stay inside of this bubble with the players to ensure that COVID-19 can't find its way in and to maybe affect a player, a coach, or someone affiliated with the NBA, or just anyone affiliated with this whole NBA comeback. So again, that's a great point he made right there. But again, as I've said time and time again, when it comes to this particular situation, it's going to be about everyone involved making sacrifices, and that's an actual sacrifice that the NBA may have to make to keep the players safe.
Things are locked. You can't allow people to go in and out. There's no way you can have that flexibility, Stephen A. Smith. It won't happen, and it's too late to just sit there and pivot and go to a different city, man.
First of all,
Jay.
be careful. Be careful about what you're saying. There's no way. There's no way on earth that the commissioner and the folks within the NBA and beyond, which obviously entailed medical professionals or whatever, they didn't just do it. They got obviously advice from medical professionals and things of that nature, which is why you heard Dr. Fauci vouch for the NBA plan. Let's be very, very clear. Let's not be so short-sighted to believe that Adam Silver and them only had one plan, that there was no potential backup plan. You're absolutely right if you're talking about not being prepared and being ill-informed and incompetent as a leader, and then you just throw out a plan and stuff like that, and this is all you got, and then completely reversing it with just a month to go. But there may have been contingency plans that came into effect because they may have been watching the governor of the state of Florida with his actions and his leadership and saw how highly questionable it was. They may have been playing the role of spectators in terms of purviewing the landscape and watching what's transpired. I'm thinking about two arenas. I'm thinking about the leadership that exists in the state of New York and how New York went from the epicenter to what it is now. One of the models that the rest of the country is trying to follow. I don't think that's something that you can ignore. I'm not advocating to do it definitively because I work for Disney. My God, and Orlando would be great. But if it's not, why not New York? Why not?
I think Vegas is the only contingency plan. Vegas is the only place that has realistically all that. But that's
Jay,
still a stretch right now. That's still a stretch.
But Jay,
go ahead, Swag.
Listen, to that point, man, we can't like just get rid of it because logistically we don't think there's another location. The problem is what Florida has been doing. It ain't the NBA has had a great plan from the beginning to put this in a system that's contained at a certain level. And let's not fool ourselves, Jay. Jay, you played in the NBA. You know they gonna sneak out. You know dudes ain't gonna stay straight on that facility. Let's be real about if they gonna really.
Yeah, and that's why he's concerned about
22
Florida.
teams and personnel from getting out of there.
Hey, Swag.
All right, Stephen A.
Swag,
Last
we
word
have
here.
to stand down. We have to stand down and defer to Jay Williams here. I just got a text from an owner, literally during this segment. Quote, "There is no other plan," which would make Jay's point more valid. There wasn't a plan B.
Well, there it
There's
is.
only a plan A, according to what an owner just said. It's Florida or nothing.
Hey, wow. I mean, Stephen A. just reported it live. He just reported it live that, hey, you guys, the NBA has only went into this particular situation with one plan and one plan only, and that's to get this season completed in Orlando. Some of these guys spoke about some other locations, such as Las Vegas, which I've played basketball in Las Vegas before. I know for a fact that that's a great location. I've been down there. I've seen some of those venues. I've seen the hotels in the vicinity. That will work as well. New York, again, another great location. Central basketball spot surrounded by a lot of hotels that could house NBA teams. So, again, they've coming up with some great alternatives. But as we've seen here, owner just texted Stephen A. Smith live and said that there is no contingency plan. If this does not work in Orlando, then the season is essentially over. So, kind of going into this situation, I feel like we all had the misconception that this season was on the hinge of, on the verge of either continuing or not because of the social issues. But as this spike in COVID-19 has kind of changed things, it seems like this NBA season is going to fall on COVID-19, how Orlando can handle it, and if this spike in this surge in COVID-19 continues to rise in Orlando. So again, if this continues, I don't see the NBA being able to follow through with this if that spike continues. And if they do continue, they may have to consider an option such as Jay Williams mentioned, as far as locking the entire, just locking everything down with regards to employees and people who can come in and out of that bubble. And if you can successfully do that, you can potentially get a season. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, is that really worth it? Is that what you're really wanting to do just to get this season completed? Are you really willing to go through all of that just to see the NBA season come to fruition? And so I know fans, all basketball fans want to see basketball get played, especially during a time like this where, usually sports is something we kind of go to get away from some of the madness that's going on. But again, there's so much going on right now, not just socially, but COVID-19 seems to be taking over the headlines and has become the primary concern with regards to if the NBA will continue or not. So again, you guys, make sure you reach out to us. Let us know what you think about this situation. Again, it's a developing situation. Things can change any given moment. So I don't want to say anyone is specifically right or wrong when it comes to this specific issue. It's just going to be about how this develops. I mean, COVID-19 has been an odd beast. Potentially next week we could see a decline. You know, we could see it flattening out. The spike could grow even larger. So again, things are all on a tentative basis, as it seems with the NBA. But one thing, I've been critical of Kyrie Irving for not having a plan. I mean, the NBA does have a plan, but for a plan this big, for them not to have a backup plan, that's extremely irresponsible, especially if their goal is to play. So I think that the Players Association and the NBA can use this time over the next 48 hours. Since it seems as if they have an original plan already hashed out, I would say a contingency plan needs to be developed and developed quickly, regardless of the cost. Again, the NBA is going to have to make some sacrifices. They may have to eat that cost. Players are going to have to choose whether they want to come and play or not. So they're going to have to make sacrifices as well. But again, it's a developing situation. I'm curious to see how it pans out. But again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to all of our videos. We'll definitely try to keep this news coming out. We'll try to keep you informed on what's going on, especially with the NBA, and then also with the NFL. So we also have some insider information with regards to this NFL situation that we're going to be breaking out as well. So make sure you stay tuned to catch that information as well if you're an NFL fan. Hey, but it's FYF Sports, and we're out.